So it's late September, September 25th, and we are dry as a bone and super hot. It's already over 92 or 3 degrees at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so we brought the cows up here. You can see the temporary line right through there. And we brought the cows up here, and we're just grazing through some of the sorghum and millet and some of these other things that are planted. One of the things we hadn't talked a lot about is the solar well that we installed after Hurricane Michael. And aside from that leaking water hose right there, this is a pretty good setup. There's an airplane up there right above us, so it may be difficult to hear, but this is our solar well setup. We've got 5 solar panels, and they're fairly large. It does have a control switch, power switch here, and then I'll take you around and show you the control box. This is a Franklin Electric. So we've got a pressure tank right here, and then the well itself. This is probably the most important parts. This little module right here connects with a data cable over to the control box, and if there's not enough energy from the sun being created, it will signal that and shut the pump off, and that way the pump doesn't pump itself dry and get hot and, you know, burn up. And so that cable, that little data cable, comes in right here. It's hard to see because we're out here in the wide open sun, but anyway, as those cows draw it down, it'll kick on, and all right, it just turned on. It just turned on, and you can see the current load on it. The working power that it's doing is creeping up. And so as the pump needs to work, so it's pulling a half a kilowatt, 0.5, 0.6 kilowatts now, 0.7, and so now it's up to 0.8. And so as that pump, the demand on that pump increases, if you've got bright sunlight, it will take that sun and convert it to electricity through those panels. Now, one thing that this setup does not have are battery backups. And the reason that we didn't, and let me say this, what it does have is that big 1,500 gallon tank. We have not installed that tank. It's going to be sitting actually right here. We started digging our holes to build a platform for it, but we hadn't finished that yet. But it's a whole lot cheaper and less maintenance to store water in that tank than it is to store electricity in batteries. All right, so let me say that again. On purpose, we bought a solar well that did not have battery capability, okay? It takes the power of the sun, the energy of the sun, I should say, it converts it to electrical power using those solar panels. And so we avoided putting batteries out here because, one, batteries are very expensive. Two, 3 to 5 years from now, you've got to dispose of those batteries and buy new batteries. And so for the cost of about 1.5 of those big batteries, we bought that 1,500 gallon solar tank or storage tank. That storage tank should last 30 to 40 years. I mean, it's not going anywhere unless a tree limb falls into it or something. And so we can store water much cheaper with much less maintenance than we can store electricity. And so that was our calculation. Now, in saying that, what happens if you get into the wintertime and the sun just doesn't shine? this solar well has a control box that we can plug a generator into, okay? And so we can come out here and plug a generator in, one of our little smaller, like a 3,000 watt generator, and we can pull water out of the ground. It will convert from the generator into that pump down there, and it'll actually pump water using a generator. So that was the trade-off. We didn't want to do a whole ton of money and a whole setup with batteries, simply because we knew that the batteries, eventually would cost us a lot in maintenance, disposal fees. You gotta wonder, how are they being disposed of? And so we just decided to go a different route. And so ultimately it's a lot cheaper and a lot less maintenance to store water than it is electricity. And so that's our plan, is to get that big water tank installed, and that way we can have water up here for the cows. So I walked down here talking about the solar well, and the cows followed me. And those two there already got them a little water. The rest of these are getting water. I like to use these wider water troughs because it does spread the cows out a little bit. You can get 3 or 4 or 5 cows around it, and they're not all just crowded up on top of one another. And so anyway, that water's real clear, and you notice some of these cows will go up there and just kind of poke their nose and walk off. Sometimes when water is real clear in a trough like that, for whatever reason, the cows won't drink it. And of course, we set the trough up here yesterday or day before yesterday, and so the water going into it is perfectly clean, and so it's going to be clear for a few days anyway. But anyway, it's just funny to me how they won't really drink. They just kind of pick at it a little bit. You see Sunrise right there doing that, and Sadie right there, she's doing that. And so they're not really drinking, they're just kind of putting their nose against the water. It's funny. But anyway, more and more of them coming down this way. Vanilla will be down here in a minute, but she had the pit stop for the baby.